Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the PCOS Q&A. This is a part of our new Friday Femme series. So what you'll get to experience is me going live here in our wonderful community. And if you're not subscribed to the email list, you definitely want to subscribe to that email list. And I'll drop a link in the comments after today's live to make sure that you're subscribed. Because on Fridays, I will be sending out an in-depth answer to the questions that are submitted. I have a form for you to use to submit those questions. I'll also drop that link in the comment section. So if you have a question and you want to submit it anonymously, especially for me to answer, hey Felicia, hey, happy Friday, especially for me to answer in detail. That will happen via email. But today we're going to answer a question that I had submitted anonymously by somebody who used the form. Please use the form. And that question was, let me read it verbatim to everybody. That question was, what can be done naturally to decrease facial hair? What can also be used as a natural form of birth control? And what herbs or supplements can be used to maintain a healthy menstrual cycle? I have created resources to answer these questions, so I'm also going to leave those workshops in the comment section too, because those have in-depth explanation for all of those questions to be answered. But I do still want to directly answer your question because I want to honor the fact that you took time to fill out that form, and it really means a lot to me that you trust me to answer your questions. So, before we dive in, a lot of new members have joined the group and the community. I was very quiet over the winter time, and so I want to say welcome as the weather has gotten warmer. I am being more social and I'm here more. So you'll see more of my face in these Friday series. But welcome to the new people. I'm so happy to have you here. This is such a beacon of light and hope for many women. As they come in, they tell me that, oh, I might have been diagnosed just recently or even today. And how beautiful is it to have a community of black women focused on healing where you can get resources, evidence based information, compassion, and safety to explore the holistic approach to healing and reversing PCOS. So again, welcome to the new members. I am a health coach. I have been a holistic health practitioner as well since 2011. So I started my practice training with the naturopath, went on to become a full spectrum doula, working along midwives for, especially for home birth. And then I trained specifically as a health coach to understand how to lead people through behavior change and the nuts and bolts of actually making a change in your health. So it's a beautiful combination in my background of also just being an advocate for women, for our divine feminine power, our beauty, our magic. And so all of that is who I am, Yasmin Manyfield. And as that person, that's how I'm answering these questions. So before we jump into the specific symptoms that the person who asked the question wanted to know about, I want to place everything into a certain context. This context is we can get lost in the trees for the forest, so to speak. We can get lost in all of the specific symptoms that come up in our bodies. And this is not just particular to PCOS. You may have been diagnosed with herpes, with HPV. You may have been diagnosed with hypertension, diabetes, fibromyalgia. There are so many things that could happen in the body's expression. And I never want you to feel bad for how your body is expressing itself through symptoms. We, like nature, and specifically like trees, have our own soil, we have our own roots, we have our limbs and branches, and we have the fruit that we bear. We are an entire system, an entire multifaceted, complex being. So, although it is important to get relief from your symptoms, it's also very important to look at the whole of who you are. Beyond symptoms, you're a beautiful, complex, beautifully made woman, human being living on a beautiful green planet, green and blue. And so I want to remind you that as we look at the specifics of getting relief from symptoms, we need to make sure that the soil and the roots and the limbs of our being are also being tended to, and we're not losing sight of the big picture of our health and well-being. So while there are specific herbs, there are specific foods that you can eat that will help, there are lifestyle practices that will help, I also want you to think about what brings your heart and your soul joy. Joy is nourishment. Where in your life do you meet up in community with other women to be poured into and to pour into other women? This can happen so many ways, so many places, online, in person, it doesn't matter. Where is your community? In a post-COVID world, a lot of us are living in isolation. And we might have had previous patterns of isolation that were exacerbated by living through having to social distance and be careful with the COVID era. So as we are recovering as a collective, as Black women especially, with all that we know is specific to our lives and our lived experience as being a part of the diaspora, we have to get back in touch with community. So going back to this analogy of being a tree with soil, with roots. Part of your soil and your roots is the community that you're grounded in, community with other women. We are designed in such a way where when we join with women, whether it's one or more, automatically when we're in a sense of joy and connection with another woman, even just a sense of intimacy, if it's like our emotional intimacy, if it's coming together for a common concern, cause, discussing something that we have both overcome, whatever the nature of it is, even if it's not just joy, it releases oxytocin in our body. Oxytocin is the love hormone. It's the bonding hormone. It's what opens us up to connect with others, to connect with ourselves, to connect with nature, to connect with our creator. Oxytocin is this beautiful hormone. And when we're not in community enough with other women, this is important. I'm not talking about community with a romantic partner or connection. I'm talking about connection with other women. Hopefully a group of women where you've created safety with these women. Oxytocin is released and it relaxes our nervous system to the point where now we feel safe. And in safety, now our body feels like we can heal. So not only do you want just general community with women where you're going to do fun things, which is very, very important, but you want to have community that is just for healing. You want to have community that is just for healing, you know? So I want to encourage everyone to find what that looks like for you. Everybody's so different. We come from so many different backgrounds that's going to look different for each and every one of us. For some of us, that is a church, that is a synagogue, that is a sanctuary, a temple that we might go to with other women that feel safe, where we can bond in community and healing in prayer. For some of us, that's going to the river with a group of women for offering and prayer. It looks different for everybody. For some of us, that is finding a specific group geared towards PCOS healing with other black women. And that's what I've created. That's what this community is. So I really encourage you to find other women here and bond with them. Reach out one to one. Go meet people that live in your area that are in this group. But I've also created Sacred Rising. Sacred Rising is my group coaching program for holistic PCOS reversal, but is very much also a sanctuary and a sisterhood that was built with safety, emotional safety in mind, to support all of our members in being able to share vulnerably and to create emotional intimacy where all of the ins and outs of what you're feeling and experiencing as your body is healing can be explored. So that might be here with me in Black Women Reversing PCOS. That might be here with me in Sacred Rising, where you find that community, but it doesn't have to be. You have to find what works for you. But what I do know, after so many years of helping women, is that community is a necessary component for our healing, community with other women. Right. So when we talk about our body being a tree, the roots and the soil are very much made up of who is actually supporting you. Who is supporting you? But also your nervous system is like the branches and the base of that tree branching out. So again, being in community relaxes your nervous system, and now all of the body signals are flowing with less resistance. You also want to look at intentionally creating stability in your everyday life and nervous system regulation. What does stability in your everyday life look like? For some of us, that might look like eating regular meals on a time schedule that's very consistent. If you've dealt with PCOS, you have a higher chance of dealing with disordered eating. You have a higher chance of developing a relationship with food where that is almost like a battle, or you might feel avoidant to food. And so creating a consistent eating time schedule for yourself is a way of creating a signal to your body of stability. Your body can bank on and rely on you to be consistent in your meal times when you are eating. Your body can rely on you to go to bed at a consistent time. These are just examples of how to create stability in your everyday life to simply and effectively soothe your nervous system so that tree is flourishing. So we're finding stability in community with other women. We're finding stability through our daily healthy habits. If you need more support with nervous system regulation, you want to find out more information about that, I will make sure to drop a link to my workshop that covers nervous system regulation in depth. So let's get to how to reduce unwanted facial hair now that we've placed talking about our symptoms in a greater context. When you notice unwanted facial hair, body hair, you might have it on your chest, your breast, your abdomen. This is just a symptom of a deeper issue. But there are things we can do to immediately start getting relief and see it ease up. One of them is reducing male hormones like testosterone and DHEA. And you can do that by drinking spearmint tea. You can use spearmint in the tea form. Clinically, it's been shown to decrease androgens when you drink 1 to 2 cups per day. You can take it as a supplement. You can take it in a tincture form. Whatever form you can get it in that will remain consistent day to day, that's what you want to choose. The other one is called saw palmetto, and it's not as well known, so I will put that in the chat right now saw palmetto tincture. This one will also decrease androgens. And if you have a multivitamin that already has zinc, great. If not, you can grab zinc and add zinc to your daily regimen, and this will boost the effectiveness of the spearmint and saw palmetto. So these are simple remedies that will get your hair growth to slow down. It will decrease the thickness, the coarseness of the hair as well. The way that you are removing the hair is also very important in seeing those quicker results. So for me, I choose sugaring. I get my sugaring done about every 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. And I go to an esthetician that's trained in those techniques. I also do sugar scrubs on my face every day. And once a week, I will do a DIY facial. And once a quarter, I go into the esthetician and get a professional facial done. And what this does is it decreases hyperpigmentation and scarring. But it also, since you are pulling the hair from the root, you're slowing down the rate of hair growth. And you'll notice that sugaring will decrease the coarseness of the hair as well. So I absolutely do not recommend shaving. From my experience and what I have seen, it actually speeds up the hair growth. It makes it more coarse, more apparent. You're at greater risk for developing hyperpigmentation, ingrown hairs, and scars. But whatever method that you use, you still want to follow the skincare tips. You want to do a facial scrub on the area that is growing daily. You want to do a DIY facial once a week where you're actually doing exfoliation and moisturizing. For me, I include like an herbal steam over my face, turmeric to help with brightening any darkness that may have come up on the skin. And doing this will not only help hair growth, but if you are experiencing acne due to PCOS, hair thinning, male pattern baldness, all of these things will help too. Whenever you reduce androgens, it's a full body effect. So all of these symptoms are an effect of elevated androgens. Now, once you have those things put in place, we want to now look at your cortisol levels. When cortisol levels are high, your body is in fight or flight state. And when you're in fight or flight, it's very hard for the body to prioritize healing. I call it dire stress. That stands for digestive, immune, reproductive, and excretory systems. Those systems, and respiratory, those systems are compromised when we are under stress. Whether that's the stress from being stuck in traffic, the stress from children, the stress from being in actual danger, the same sets of hormones are released into the bloodstream. And when that happens, literally blood flow is redirected from those internal organs out to the limbs to assist you to running away from the threat. So it's so important for us to decrease stress hormones, to allow the body to find a sense of balance and to give her the energy that she needs to heal. So 2 things I recommend is to get into a regular meditation practice and to get into restorative movement, to abandon high intensity exercise until you can get your hormones to a more balanced state. So I go in depth about that in my course about how to map your lifestyle for being able to regulate your stress response and to create better resilience from stress. So inside of Sacred Rising, we deal with somatic healing and stress relief like every 2 weeks when we meet up. So we meet every 2 weeks on Sunday evenings. And that is a built-in part of how we connect and come together. But then in the coursework, I also detail step by step what to do. And so the last part of what I want to share today is really about understanding the root cause of your symptoms. If you are dealing with insulin resistance PCOS, You will usually see that show up on lab work, but sometimes it will not. Where you need to look at your symptoms. Are you having cravings for chocolate, sugar, processed foods between meals, or just at any point? And there's more symptoms than that, but you need to understand if you're dealing with insulin resistance or not. Once you rule that out, then we want to think about, well, maybe my PCOS symptoms are coming from a different root cause if I do not have insulin resistance. And that could be from inflammation. It could be the result of taking birth control pills. It could be the fact that your adrenal glands are fatigued and are having a hard time regulating. All of these are options on the table. And everybody is an individual, so your body is going to express PCOS in the way that it does. But generally speaking, these are the four main subtypes: insulin resistance, post pill, inflammatory, and adrenal. And usually we have a dominating subtype, and then sometimes we could be dealing with more than one. But I always encourage you to focus on one main thing at a time. Take baby steps. Take baby steps. Bite off a little bit, chew that, swallow, and then do the next bite. So if you find like, oh, my inflammatory markers in my blood work are high and my A1C is elevated, which is the number that represents your blood sugar levels over a span of 3 months, well, what is worse? If you're having, let's say, a 10% A1C when a normal one is below 5.7, I believe, then maybe we need to prioritize your insulin resistance and get that under control before we look at reducing inflammation. But oftentimes, working on one will see improvement in the other. So work on one thing at a time. Stay focused on mastering also one healthy habit at a time. So to go all the way back to our discussion in the beginning, remember, you are not your symptoms. You are a whole beautiful being with soil and roots and branches and complexity in your design. But also, there are things you can do to get quicker relief as you're working on that bigger picture of your health, as you're working on the larger healthy habits that you need to master. But start with drinking your spearmint. See how that works for you. Then maybe add in your saw palmetto tincture and some zinc. Then start incorporating maybe 5 to 10 minutes of meditation or an hour meditative slow walk to support your stress levels. These are ideas. However, you do what feels absolutely doable for you right now. So if only drinking 2 cups of spearmint is what feels doable, focus on that to the point of mastery and watch your symptoms. See how they improve, what gets better. When I say absolutely doable, you need to rate on a scale of 1 to 10. How doable is this, with 10 being the most doable? It's just easy. If you're not at an 8 to 10, you need to choose something easier. Even if it's like, I'm just going to go to bed around 10 o'clock every night, and that's what I can do right now. It doesn't matter how small it is. We want to start with what is absolutely doable so you don't feel overwhelmed. If you don't feel overwhelmed, the more likely it is that you are going to stick with your efforts. So that is my answer to today's Q&A. Again, use the form provided in the comments section to submit your questions to me. I look forward to reading and answering and working with us in this community. Make sure you're subscribed to the email list. Again, I'll drop that below so you can. And reach out to me. Tell me about your PCOS story. When were you diagnosed? What's currently going on? What are your health goals? I want to know all of that. And if you think that, hey, Yasmin, I'm tired of working on this by myself in isolation, I'm ready to be in a community that's dedicated to PCOS reversal from a holistic standpoint, then let's explore you joining Sacred Rising. Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. I'll also leave my link if you want to book a free call for us to talk about Sacred Rising. And I'm wishing everybody a beautiful weekend. Tune in next Friday, same time, same place. Make sure to submit your questions so they can get answered. And I'm wishing everyone a great weekend. Be blessed.